Hey, before we get into the podcast, I just want to thank this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor is Sock Panda. They are a monthly sock subscription service, and I have personally bought them for members of my family, specifically my daughter. She absolutely loved them. Once a month, she'd be able to go out to the mailbox and get a new pair of socks, and it was always a surprise on like what they were. Sometimes it was like a surfing squirrel, and other times there were aliens. It was just pretty much all sorts of socks for everything you could possibly imagine. And they have men's socks, women's socks, tween socks, kids socks, and you can go on and you can purchase just one set, or you can get a subscription, and it makes for a great gift. And we're heading into the holiday season, and supply chains are an issue, so this is going to be a great gift that gives for the whole year or 6 months or however long you want to sign up for the sock subscription. And even better than that, the Sock Panda team is dedicated to using its socks to make the world a better place. The company donates socks to those in need for every purchase. As of today, the company has donated over 141,000 pairs of socks to homeless shelters, low-income senior centers, hospitals, and underprivileged classrooms throughout the country. You can't go wrong with Sock Panda. They make great stuff, and they do great things. And today, they're giving our listeners a 15% discount. So you can go to sockpanda.com/discounts/Inebri-art15 to get 15% off your order. And we just want to say thank you to them for sponsoring the show. And make sure you go there and get some socks for yourself or for your loved ones this holiday season.
Across the line, the Gulf Stream, I've been in Tampa Bay, around the horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I'm your host, Andy, and I am joined today by co-host Hanna.
Hello.
And our producer, Zoid. I can just give you different titles, yeah. So you're part robot. Fish.
Yellow.
And so
You did it.
yeah, I did it. You're right. I got through the opening. It only took me a couple tries. It's pretty good. We haven't recorded in a a little while.
It's been a bit. Yeah.
But we do have a little recap or PES to the
follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up. For sure.
The previous episode we did about the National Day of Mourning.
Yeah.
And then Hannah and myself attended the National Day of Mourning this year on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the Massasoit statue, promptly at noon.
Correct.
And so we just kind of wanted to recap what happened, what our experience, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so there's no greater way to get the story right than to hear it right from the people who should be telling it. So I highly suggest it's available on the website for the United Native Americans of New England.org or .com. Sorry if I got that wrong.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, so it's on their website, and you can go ahead and watch it. Actually, I was talking to someone from work, and they watched it that day. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really cool. She was like, "Oh, I watched that on TV." I just wanted to be talking about it. So it is recorded, and you can go watch it. And like I said, there's no better way to hear that information than right from the people who organize it.
Yeah.
And who speak there. First and foremost, Frank James is the person who started this, right? I was referring to him, I believe, by his native name, and everyone was calling him Frank James, so I apologize that he should have just been referred to as Frank James, but I didn't know that.
I think we were trying to be on the right side, and but I mean, if that's his Wampanoag name, then I'm sure he
also, but I just seemed like that was the way of referring to him. So just to make sure I honor that side of things. So that's in case you hear either name, I'm sure is okay. But just from the way he was spoken about, it was
Frank James.
Frank James, exactly. His granddaughter spoke.
Yep.
Everyone who spoke, was awesome.
Yeah.
I was blown away because there's so many people there, and I get nervous talking in front of
there was a ton of people.
Yeah, I get nervous talking in front of you guys, and these everyone who got
we're
up
idiots.
I know, but I just think it's astounding to me for these, because it wasn't like people got up and talked for a minute.
No.
Everyone had a hearty part to play in what they were saying, with all really relevant information and stories to share every time they spoke.
Yeah.
So that, to me, I was really blown away because there was so much content and things that they had to say and do while they were up there.
Yeah.
That just, like, was astounding. And I think there is one real correction to make, because I believe I reported that Frank James was able to tell his real Thanksgiving story.
Right. But that speech has never been.
And yes, and it was never actually given. There were other speeches given, other people who spoke for the first day of mourning, but his speech was never actually given. And then one follow-up.
But it was printed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so. And it was just really, I mean, the whole thing was really powerful. Like I said, if you weren't able to go, viewing it on the internet would be highly suggested, because I think it was just really informative. And if people are asking you to listen and learn, there's really no better way than to learn right from what they're telling you.
Right.
So it was awesome. Definitely putting it in the calendar for next year.
Yeah, there were some things that, like, really surprised me, and just some perspectives that I hadn't really thought about.
Yes, for sure.
One of the things that surprised me was, I think when you think of, like, National Day of Mourning and, you know, Indigenous people, and I'm sure this is a New Englander way of looking at it, is you think of the Wampanoag. But they were, like, talking about the Indigenous people of Hawaii and Central and South America countries. Haiti came up a bunch. So they're really in support of all Indigenous people, not any specific tribe.
Right. And just in support of people, too. Like,
for sure.
That was like a huge message. They were like the human connection.
Right.
And we're all a part of it. I thought that was like just a really beautiful thing. And obviously they were advocating for the rights for Native Americans. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of things brought up systemically, whether it was legislature they're hoping to get pushed, or just other ways about telling stories. Like, we've talked about the history of Thanksgiving. Like, we all know. Yeah. We
go back and listen to previous episodes.
Yeah, we all know, and that it really is something that's so easily, I don't want to say debunked, but I've spent the whole episode pretty much debunking the idea of Thanksgiving that we have.
And as far as, like, debunking, you just have to go back and read the Pilgrim's Reports of it. Because, like, the only one selling it as a, you know, happy, you know, brotherly thing is people now. Yeah, for sure. And I think the bigger message is what does that mean, and bigger picture, what does it mean and stand for today, and for the Native American communities around the country. It represents a really, really awful history that was, like, put on them by colonization. So, and they talked about the resident schools, which I knew about.
Yes.
But I don't think a lot of people do. And, you know, maybe we can find a resident school in the area that we can talk about in the future, because I think that's, like,
that would be really cool. Important.
It's important, yeah.
Yes. I throw around the word cool so loosely.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's, I think, something that most, you know, it's literally a school to kind of drive out Native American culture.
Yeah.
So obviously the people who aren't Native American don't even know they existed, you know? Yeah. So they're pretty crazy. And they talked a lot about that.
For sure.
And the other thing that I thought was, like, really an interesting perspective was how they were talking about, like, borders and, you know, illegal immigrants and that sort of thing. And it made me think of, like, it's basically if someone came into your house, drew a line down the middle of your house and said, okay, you 4 family members who are on this side of the house can't go across to the other side of the house unless you have the appropriate documentation. And I say it's okay. And so the borders are really arbitrary, especially to Indigenous people. Yeah. That's just something that never even occurred to me.
Something that you picked up, and then lastly, I'd be remiss. I know I mentioned one of the protests was done in honor of Leonard Peltier. Mm-hmm. But his name and that story and him as a person, because he was able to speak through a letter that was read out during the speeches, was a really important piece of the entire day. And of course, and I think I said, I didn't look too much into it because it wasn't like super surrounding area to us, but to our Indigenous and Native neighbors, it's very important because it sets a standard for anyone speaking out for that community of how they could possibly be treated, potentially punished for just trying to do what's right.
And he's still incarcerated now.
Yes, and not doing too well. And they also have a lot of information about him on their website.
Yeah.
So
he's very ill.
Yes. So, and that was a really big driving force of the day as well. So it's still a current piece of the day of mourning protest. So something important to just note on the end, for sure.
Absolutely. But overall, put it on your list of things to do.
Yeah.
At least once.
It was just, there's plenty of ways I think you can, if you don't have the means to stand in solidarity with your Indigenous neighbors and people in your community. So this is one of those ways.
For sure. All right. But what are we talking about today?
Okay. So I went slightly rogue, and I didn't mean to.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Flip the table, fish.
Not that you guys even... I could have told you anything.
I feel like I knew what we were recording.
Yeah, I think we have a solid idea.
Which is awesome because the one day I actually remember what we were...
What did you think we were recording? Because I got one thing that I think
I thought we were recording the...
Yes. Yeah. That's next episode, though.
Yeah. So edit that part out, fish. And I thought we were recording the Blizzard of 78.
Yeah.
About that.
Look,
so if
Hanna
you remember...
looks so... Like, I don't know if sheepish is really the term. But she does seem a little embarrassed that she decided not to do the Blizzard of 78.
So here's where we
it's the one time I actually...
The one time we know what we're doing, we're not doing it.
Here's the funny thing. We talked about the Blizzard of 78, but remember me and Fish went back and forth. We're like, wasn't it in February, something weird? And you were like, it doesn't need to be like...
Yeah, I'm like, it doesn't have to be the day, and both of you are like, yes, it does, we'll kill you right now. I'm like, all right, whatever. So, surprise, surprise, Hanna didn't do your Blizzard of 78.
Oh my gosh, but that is not why. I started going down the rabbit hole of just weather anomalies in looking up the Blizzard of 78, and I ended up accidentally
ignoring what you're talking about.
No, I found this weird day in history that has been written about, but also made more popular and known by Henry David Thoreau.
Okay.
So it's called Cold Friday.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what we're talking about today.
Okay, sure. Cold Friday. Got it. That was on the list, right? Someone had that on the list.
No, but I realized after I had like 3 pages of notes that I was like, I wasn't supposed to do this at all. But it's too late.
Too late now.
Because we're a few days away and I don't have enough time to fix it. So, Cold Friday, which happened in 1810.
So what's Cold Friday? Was it on a Friday?
Yeah.
Oh, did I just jump to the end?
No.
I literally can't jump to the end of this because I've never heard of it before.
How did you know that it wasn't actually on a Friday? No, but we're talking about Cold Friday as remembered mostly by Henry David Thoreau. Okay. Which I think it was kind of fun to look back on him talking about. He talks about nature so much. Mm-hmm. And he became almost just like a weather reporter for a little bit in his own personal journals. Like he wrote all the time. Right. Right. So before we talk about Cold Friday, we're going to talk about why Henry David Thoreau talked about Cold Friday.
Of course. This is interesting because I have no idea what we're talking about.
I know.
Great.
No, I've never been so lost going into an episode.
I know.
You're welcome.
Usually at this point I go, oh yeah, we did talk about this.
No, sorry.
You know what the worst thing is? Had she wanted to, she could have convinced us that we talked about this.
No, because I've definitely never heard of it. Have you heard of Cold Friday before, Fish?
Maybe.
Well, that's what I've never heard of Cold Friday. So I was like, oh, what is this? Yeah. That's weird and new. So anyway. Yeah. So before the Cold Friday, after the Cold Friday of 1810, 10, this is when Henry David Thoreau is living in Boston, and he's hanging out, and it's starting to get cold as heck out. And
Okay.
I don't know if you guys noticed, it's pretty freaking chilly today.
It is, and we've already seen snow.
And we've already seen snow. It was very chilly out today. So from December to January, New England was hit with just devastating cold and endless snow.
Okay.
Now, that feels reminiscent of probably every year. Not every year, because sometimes we have warm
I feel like
winters.
lately it's been very
Mild.
mild.
But 38 snowstorms would run through the area of New England.
Wow.
Between
That's
those 2 months.
a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, what months were they again?
December and January.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's December, I get it.
Yeah.
God forbid we do something not on the same day.
So...
I get it. I have no say in this. Whatever, go on.
Am I laughing too much? Okay.
No.
Am I breathing?
Yeah, you better cut it out. So after a really mild day, December 17th, the temperature dropped to negative 12 within like
Woof, that's cold.
a matter of not a very long time. And the snow started coming down, and it pretty much shut down the city. Like, and I know that happens with every snowstorm, but just imagine a snowstorm that long ago.
Right, and this is like dawn of automobiles. Right?
Yeah, so 1850. Yep, 1857. They relied heavily on train use. The tracks were completely frozen and buried, so there was none of that going on, and the snow drifts pretty much like blocked all the roads.
Right.
So
it's no snow, blah, blah, blah. And no snow plows.
yeah, I didn't know what you were.
I was trying
to
to say words.
Obviously, businesses were shut down. Vital businesses like the butcher and milkman were men's.
They were milkmen.
Milkmen? Okay. Stop looking at me.
Yeah, fish. Stop looking at her.
They were unable to deliver any of the goods, so I'm sure, well, it all stayed probably fine because it was really cold out, so everything was freezing. Didn't have to worry about losing any product.
No, but people had to eat.
People had to eat. Yeah, no, not this time around. No luck. So January 17th, the temperature was recorded negative 17 in Salem.
Wow.
Which is so cold. And
What?
Nothing. I looked. Hurry.
Yeah,
And
we
I
told you
caught
not
you.
to do that.
please turn around. No, I'm joking.
Face the wall. Go sit in the corner.
January 20th, the Boston Harbor and the Charles River are frozen over completely.
Okay. Yeah.
And so much snow was layered on the ground that you actually couldn't see the river anymore.
Oh, really?
Yes. And mind you, everything I'm telling you now is like almost right from Thoreau's, just like everyday journaling of the weather.
Yeah.
So he's just like, it's cold as hell. I'm going to go ahead and make sure people know about
Day
it.
2. It's still cold.
Yeah. He said that it was, the cold was intolerable to the face. And I was
Oh,
like,
it's minus 17. Huh?
yeah. And I was like, yeah, I know that feeling. Nothing.
And he didn't have a particular big box door to keep him warm there. Yeah.
Talking about LLV.
I am. I wasn't sure we could say that.
Shameless plug.
There you go.
No, they're kidding me. They won't care. Yeah, no, that's what I think about when I'm in the cold and windy times today, and I think about what they
You think of
wore
Thoreau?
100 years ago. Just people in general.
okay, yeah.
I'm like, their shoes were terrible.
Yep.
L.O. Bean wasn't around yet, so they didn't have good boots.
There's no North Face.
and
We have no favorites here.
and
If
everyone
you want to sponsor us, we'll name drop you.
everyone relied on some sort of like fire
Right.
type.
Well, that was
stove.
my thing is like, so like dawn of automobiles, I'm like, what did they have for heating? Like, was there electric heating?
Pellet
Yeah.
or something like that, pellet
Yeah.
stove, or some people use coal stoves.
Right.
So there's all, but like you still had to maintain that and have enough supplies to run that and go
Mhm.
get the stuff to,
And maintain it overnight
yeah.
while you're trying to sleep. Yeah.
And it just sounds terrible. So I'm so happy to live in this century with technology for warmer clothes, because that would be brutal. Anyway, so January 23rd, his ink froze.
His what?
His ink froze.
Oh, okay.
For writing. And
I thought you said his sink froze. I'm like, why is it water in it?
And that was his last entry.
Ever?
No. His ink froze. Just kidding. Just that
Funny joke,
yeah.
Hannah.
That's actually how I tell you about the death of Thoreau. I weave it in
Wow,
there.
that's like such a like good euphemism for like a dead writer. Being
Yeah.
like, that's the day his ink froze.
Yeah. So, I do love that. Oh, man. So, yeah, his ink froze. I'm sure he just, like, went closer to the fire or something.
Yeah.
Stupid. So, he continued writing.
Put it in his armpit or something.
Yeah, warm it up. January 26th, the ships in the harbor were completely stuck. And they had to create a channel. So, thousands of men went onto the ice and, like, created, like, a chain line to smash a channel into the harbor for boats to escape, because you got to think Boston Harbor was a very busy port in general,
Right.
so there's ships coming from far away or wherever to
To get a
drop
rope
stuff up.
made right here in Plymouth.
Yep.
Yep.
You got that right. No, so you think of like the people traveling up from the West Indies, right?
Sure, yeah.
Just for whatever, and they're like, oh crap, like they're stuck. So they had to physically go out with thousands of men to create a channel in the ice, which I just think is...
Gotta be crazy dangerous.
I know.
Like crazy.
I know. And they said the harbor was frozen 14 miles out.
Wow. Thanks, Fish. We would have also accepted gasp.
Yeah.
There we go. Edit that in.
There you go. So, Thoreau, among all the things happening that he's noticing and writing about, notices some fox prints in the snow. Because why not? This is our guy.
Yeah.
He loves nature. He loves this stuff.
Who doesn't like foxes?
Who doesn't like foxes?
Until you hear them screaming like murderers in the woods.
I feel like farmers probably don't like foxes.
Oh yeah, that's probably true too.
Yeah. Anyway. So, and he just...
Chickens probably
Chickens hate foxes. They're least biggest fan.
Then why do we keep inviting them into the house? Fox in the hen house?
Yeah, I don't think they invite him in.
Yeah.
So, he just noted that it's remarkable that there's so many footprints all over the city, and you could go years without seeing them, which I thought was funny because I feel like I see a fox like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, you don't live in the city.
Yeah. Oh, true. But I thought back then, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of happened during lockdown. I mean,
True.
you know, there's all sorts of reports during lockdown of people seeing like deer and Brockton or places where you wouldn't normally see them.
See one. Yeah, I was like, I see deer all the time.
Yeah. Again, you don't live in the city, Hannah.
I know bears.
The sticks are really like, Hannah lives far away.
I know. I remember a lot of people were reporting bear sightings. Well, there's still bear sightings.
Yeah.
I feel like there's bear
I saw
sightings
rats.
more
That's what I
than
saw.
ever. I see rats all the time in my neighborhood. My neighborhood has a rat infestation.
We just saw them because like everything was shut down.
So they're like
downtown. So they're like, we're hungry.
Oh, the downtown rats. Those are big rats.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
You ever seen the jetty rats?
No.
Oh, they're massive. They're scary. Anyway.
But that has nothing to do with the show.
Well, of course it does. They're very local.
Yeah.
Anyway, February 15th, the ice clears. So we jumped a little
That's
bit.
like a month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it clears all the way. I think it just probably clears enough. Think about like the ice chunks that have been in our harbor.
Yeah.
Probably clears enough for boats to like be able to
Maneuver.
Yeah, exactly. So what brought this cold Friday to light? Why do I know about it today?
Because you were supposed to be researching something else. And
Exactly.
Like, screw those guys,
but
I'll do what I want.
Why would Thoreau bring it up? Because he does bring it up in his writings, saying that the cold of today is reminiscent of Cold Friday or whatever.
Oh.
But what got that going? What got his gears turning and made him like mention that? It's because he was hanging out with his mom.
Okay.
And his mom, like during this snowstorm, during this cold winter, and his mom in like such an old school fashion goes, "Oh, it reminds me of like The cold Friday. And apparently...
kids don't know.
Yeah.
It's so cold on Friday.
And apparently...
You're like, Mom, it's Monday. I remember Friday.
Yeah, apparently Cold Friday was one of those things that the next generation, or the generation before, whatever, talked about. It was, if it was cold out, like,
it's cold Friday.
Yeah, really.
So basically, it was their blizzard of 78.
Yeah.
Yes.
The storm that broke
And it ties it all back.
Yeah, the storm that broke a generation in New England.
Full circle.
Yeah.
No. So, and then I start getting fully into the blizzard of 78. This episode's going for another hour, guys. No. So.
That's when they ran out for eggs, milk, and bread.
His, this Friday, so she told him about this specific Friday. So we just talked about that whole winter that was 50 years after the fact, right?
Yeah.
It was recorded falling 55 degrees in less than 12 hours.
Okay.
So the temperature
hang on.
fell.
I think I'm a little off.
Yeah.
So what we just talked about was Thoreau talking about this one particular bad winter that he was comparing to Cold Friday. So Cold Friday was 50 years before what we just talked about? Oh, okay. All right.
That's what I mean, the generational thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got it. I'm just making sure, it's not that our listeners might be confused. You know.
That's fine.
Andy is the voice of the listener.
That's right. Yeah. I'm the everyman.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. So, so it's on the records, but off the records. We talked about tornadoes. Remember how there was a moment where we weren't really recording them?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of those meteorological events that could be recorded as the fastest falling temperature.
So it's basically recorded in things like people's journals, but nothing scientific.
Yes.
Okay.
And they had thermometers. Yeah. They could read them easily. But I mean, there's
but they're old-timey thermometers, so they're
and there's varying degrees.
Hauled in on horseback or something.
Yeah. So there's varying degrees. There's people that note the starting temperature.
I was gonna make that joke too.
Yeah. People note the starting temperature at 65. Some people note it at 55. Regardless, it falls to negative 13 degrees in the span of less than 24 hours.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Cold Friday, for a reason, it wasn't a gradual build into the coldness.
Yeah. It wasn't I need my mittens.
Yeah. No, Cold Friday is rightfully so because it was cold. And then they were and it didn't get that much warmer.
Yeah.
So, Thoreau's mom, Cynthia Dunbar, she was several years away from being Thoreau's mom. So she was married. They're on Thoreau Farm.
Okay.
And she's there with some friends, close family, and their servants. And it starts to get really cold out. So they huddle into the parlor. They said they knew it was cold when the dishes they had just washed flash froze in the kitchen.
Wow.
The water on the dishes.
Was Jake Gyllenhaal running away from wolves?
That's all I could think of. That's literally all I could think of. Great movie.
Day after tomorrow. Fish, shut off your mic. It's a great movie.
I hate that movie so much.
Although I don't understand why they didn't go onto the ship and try to get the heat on the ship.
I think we talked about this.
Never understood that.
It's not a good movie, Andy.
In one of the last episodes.
Did we?
Because I was I said 2012.
Oh, right.
And I was oh wait, 2012. The movie 2012.
2012? Different movie though, Hannah.
It is, but it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Equally bad, but different movie.
Yeah.
I said shut off your mic. I'm talking about good movies.
So, friends and family gathered in the parlor to keep warm around the fire, and they said it was blistering cold in the house if you weren't near that. Like I said, the newly washed dishes froze before their eyes. They threw water out in buckets that was, I don't know, hanging out in the house that they needed to,
And
you
tossed
water, quote unquote.
We probably know what it is.
Yeah.
And they, it froze as they were throwing it outside. So that flash freezing that Dennis Quaid warned us about, it's actually happening.
Yeah, I mean, you can see videos of people doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just refuse to believe that it's real.
Wait, Dennis Quaid or
I'm just
that stuff
joking.
can freeze that cold?
Yeah, it'll freeze that quickly.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things I'm that's wild. Never seen it happen. I obviously believe it, guys, but it's just crazy.
I actually...
You seen it?
Sorta. I saw a beer freeze solid in front of my eyes. It was the most bizarre thing.
What?
Yeah, so for any of our beer drinking friends or people who haven't just seen a Corona, you put a lime in it. And so I was hanging out with some friends, and it was like a warm summer day, and we wanted Corona. And so we went to the liquor store and we bought the ones that weren't already cold, so they're warm. So we put them in the freezer to get them cold fast. And I took one out and I popped the top and I put the lime in. And as the lime juice hit the water, it must have dropped as it hit the beer, it must have dropped the freezing point just a little bit, and it literally froze from the top down in my hand within 15 seconds.
Whoa.
It was bizarre.
That's crazy.
And like I'm in the kitchen, be like, look at this. And by the time I'm like running out with a frozen beer, and they're all like, yeah, your beer is frozen. I'm like, you're missing the point.
You don't understand. Yeah. Magic just happened. That's wild.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Oh, okay.
So it's true.
I believe you.
Everything on the internet's true.
Yes. So, obviously, Thoreau's mention of it, because he wasn't there for Cold Friday, it's not the only account of it. Historians in other towns have talked about it because it wasn't just a cold day; it became a storm.
Right.
So it was not blistering cold, wind, and like sheet snow.
Yeah.
Not the fun kind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
like that. Yeah, that it hurts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there were two brothers that were seen chopping wood on Thursday.
They were frozen solid by Thursday night.
And they were frozen solid
Shut
probably
up,
sometime Friday, but they were found Saturday.
Are you serious?
Frozen, yes.
Wow, I jumped ahead and I didn't even know it.
Yeah. Joseph and
Now
Benjamin
I feel bad
Brooks.
about making that joke. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
Well, I mean,
If you're listening.
that was the fastest turnaround on you jumping ahead. Usually
Yeah, usually it's like a while.
I'm like, I'm pages away from talking about that. That was
Andy,
literally the next sentence.
You jumped ahead mid-sentence.
Yeah,
It's
it's
art.
just trying to make a joke. I didn't realize it was.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
Yeah.
I hope you learned your lesson about jokes, Andy.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Jeremiah Ellsworth, who lived in New Hampshire, his house was actually ripped apart. The siding was taken off, and like walls were torn from the wind. So he's probably just in a really terrible spot for wind.
Yeah.
So he had to run out and try to find somewhere for his family to go, and he didn't. He grabbed his wife. He went back, grabbed his wife and his 3 kids, and his kids caught hypothermia and ended up dying from the trip over to the neighbor's house.
Which I'm sure their neighbors weren't like feet away, but still, that's.
And then there's a bunch of reports of animals and livestock just freezing, and I mean that's. Obviously it was a cold day, but it was also like a lot of destruction happened.
Yeah.
So those are just the things that lasted and were passed down and talked about. But there was just a lot of general devastation because it was so cold. And 'twas a wicked cold day out.
'Twas.
Yeah. And that's pretty much Cold Friday.
That's crazy.
I know.
And I cannot get the picture of that, is it Day After Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Day After Tomorrow out of my head.
Yeah.
Because every time they ran for the neighbor's house, and it's just like, okay.
That's all I could think of, too. I totally...
And that's when the helicopter crashed.
I'm right there. I'm right there with you. That's when her leg was infected.
The fuel lines froze on their horse.
And I know, and it was such a random thing to come across. I didn't mean to, but I ended up writing
and
about
I've
it.
literally never heard of it.
Yeah. And that's why it stood out so much to me, because I've never heard of it. So I was like, well, we've been talking about weather a lot lately, and this is kind of in line with what I was supposed to talk about. So I'll just do this one. Yeah.
Tune in next episode when we don't talk about, I don't know what we're talking about. No, that's cool.
Cold. Yeah. Friday. I also
Tuesday.
think there's missed opportunity for Ice. It's not Ice Cube.
Ice Cube. Oh,
To do a Friday movie.
they call it Cold Friday.
Yeah.
Does he play Thoreau?
I don't know. He does the Friday movies, so.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I was thinking Ice-T. Sorry.
That's why I was like.
Wrong Ice
Yes.
named rapper. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Ice Cube could
Ice
do.
Cube.
And his name's Ice Cube.
Right. I feel like that's a thing. Yeah.
I'll write him.
All right.
I'll let him know.
Friend of the show. That's cute.
Yeah.
We'll tag him in this, see if he responds. I think this is the part where we stop talking. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.